I have an amazing guest, Sonya Shields, and she is a passionate social justice activist and a non-for-profit executive who fuels her creative talents and fundraising and marketing skills to build resources to support over 18,000 Brooklyn residents. After working for many years with national and international nonprofits, Sonya's focus for nearly 6 years has been to empower Brooklyn's poor and low-income residents. As the Chief Officer for External Relations and Advancement at the Brooklyn Community Services, Sonya is responsible for raising money, building visibility, and creating partnership opportunities to support her organization's programs and services that reach as far out as the Canarsie neighborhood to downtown Brooklyn. Now, if you're familiar with Brooklyn, you'll know that Canarsie is way out from downtown Brooklyn. And so I Googled it and found that it was approximately 6.7 miles. So that's pretty far. So they service a really huge area. She's a graduate of Howard University in Washington, D.C. with a degree in public relations. Sonya has worked for over 20 years for organizations that address issues related to environmental justice, reproductive health, HIV and AIDS, and LGBT equality. Sonya is also a writer and volunteers for numerous organizations. She's one of the founders of the National Black Justice Coalition and has served on over a dozen boards. She is currently on the board of Community of Unity, which directly impacts New York City's most underserved urban youth. Sonya says that creative ideas, social justice, and ways to use her talent for good is always in motion, and she doesn't know when she's going to slow down. I think she does. She's not going to slow down anytime soon, as a matter of fact. Cheers to that, and thank you so much for coming to chat with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been blessed in that I have skills that have enabled me to help a lot of different organizations. And it actually doesn't feel like work. I really love what I do. And here at BCS, I would say of all of the organizations I've worked for, this one, I feel the impact of my work on a daily basis because I see clients in our building here at the headquarters. We have 24 other sites throughout Brooklyn, and I know how we're impacting their lives. We partner with them to empower them to reach their, personal goals. We have after-school programs, early childhood centers. We have a shelter for women with mental illness. We do workforce development for people with intellectual disabilities. We have a high school. We have 4 community centers. So, we're touching children, youth, families, adults, and these are poor and low-income people in Brooklyn. 23% of Brooklyn residents actually live in poverty, and a lot of people don't know that. And I'm able to see, people who really struggle. They have things going on in their household, and see them be able to move along in their life, whether that's to get their Regents diploma and finally graduate from high school and then go on to college, or people who have a disability and didn't think that they would ever be able to walk again, or someone suffering from mental illness who was homeless, being able to help them get into permanent housing. So the impact of what we do is profound, and I'm really just happy that I'm able to, sort of work in this space every day where I can see how we're touching people's lives.
That is amazing. I used to teach in New York City. I taught in New York City for 14 years. And part of what I loved about New York City was the after-school programs. And you mentioned that you do after-school programs. What kinds of after-school programs do you usually offer?
We have 2 early childhood centers, so that's preschool. One is in downtown Brooklyn and one is in Bedford-Stuyvesant. And then we have 5 after-school programs in elementary schools in different neighborhoods throughout Brooklyn. So kids at 3 o'clock show up at the school, and we have a program that's called the Gary Klinsky Children's Centers, and we provide, academic support, enriching activities. They go on trips, all of those things, all of those fun things that, kids love. We help them with their homework. They do all kind of creative activities. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful program. And then we have 2 after-school programs in middle schools as well.
I just want to piggyback to what you said about 23% of Brooklyn people living in poverty. Had you not said that, I would not have known. That's a huge number in this day and age. And
yeah.
How do you get that message out to the general public?
We basically at BCS have served poor and low income people for 150 years. And it was in 2013 or 2014 when de Blasio was running for mayor, and he was running on a campaign theme, The Tale of Two Cities. And it was around that time also that Hurricane Sandy happened, and you could just see the impact of poverty in your face here in Brooklyn, sort of not at the level that we saw it during Katrina in New Orleans, but you could see that Brooklyn was becoming more and more divided. And it was also a time where my department was sort of, trying to figure out a way to engage this, new generation of people that were moving into Brooklyn, new professionals and artists and new businesses, and all of these high-rise condos were going up all around us and where our downtown headquarters is located, upscale restaurants and retail and hotels. And we got together, and it took us 20 minutes to come up with a campaign theme that's called the One Brooklyn Community. And at that time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. I just knew that message resonated with us. And I think it was a year later that I called upon a friend of mine. Her name is Maisha, and she's the art director for our campaign, and she helped us identify a photographer. And that first year, we were able to get Michaela Angela Davis and Les Nubians and the designers Coco and Breezy and Fab by Freddie, and we got a bunch of people to participate in a photo shoot. And I was able to raise money to get basically that campaign, the photos, and our clients on the subway platforms in Brooklyn, 36 subway platforms. And this September marks the 3rd year of the campaign. And we've been able to galvanize over 65 people over the past couple of years, people that have, high social media platforms, lots of followers. Many of them travel the world. Some of them are known internationally. And so it's really helped us to engage a new audience around the impact of poverty, the need to volunteer, to get active in your community, civic engagement, philanthropy, and just using your voice. And in addition to the campaign, we've had a number of panel discussions, community events that's also brought a lot of community leaders and nonprofit organizations together to talk about the impact of poverty. And I'm really, really proud of the work that we've been able to do, because Brooklyn's just become this global brand. I live in Bedford-Stuyvesant, and you see people coming here from all over the world now, and it's I always say that poverty still lives in posh Brooklyn, and that's my thing. Poverty still lives in posh Brooklyn. 1 in 3 children actually lives in poverty.
When I migrated to the U.S., I lived in Brooklyn. My parents still live in Crown Heights, so I'm in Brooklyn a lot. I taught in Bed-Stuy and Macon Street. And so I've sat back and I've seen the changes that Brooklyn's gone through. And I love that quote. That's a really great soundbite, by the way, and quote, poverty still lives in posh Brooklyn.
Yep.
I think you should probably make a plaque or something and put that where people can see it so that they'll know that's real.
It's real.
How is this new gentrification that's happening in Brooklyn, how has that affected the poverty rate with people of color and minorities?
Gotcha. Well, I can give you an example. One of our programs is in a neighborhood near Fort Greene. It's It's called the FARRAGUT North neighborhood. And we have a community center there. And the community center basically draws residents from the NYCHA housing project. And where it's located, it is basically adjacent to DUMBO. And DUMBO is right under the Manhattan Bridge, and it is the fourth wealthiest neighborhood in New York City. The median household income at FARRAGUT is the housing projects is $20,169. In comparison to DUMBO's median household income is $204,000. And so, the numbers are alarming. 22.6% of the children at FARRAGUT live in poverty in comparison to 1.4 in DUMBO. And my team here, did a video that we titled The Forgotten FARRAGUT to basically put a human face to the impact of income inequality and gentrification in that neighborhood. We talked to residents, and they were really candid with us and expressed their frustrations, and basically said that they referred to their neighborhood as the Forgotten FARRAGUT. And we learned that children have been rezoned to other schools due to DUMBO residents moving in. There's no grocery store or access to fresh, affordable food. The parking lot where residents park their cars for decades is no longer available to them, and they live there. And so there's a lot of issues within that particular neighborhood. And you can say the same for many neighborhoods in Brooklyn. It's challenging. It's very challenging for people that have raised their families and feel like they're forgotten. But a part of what we do here at BCS is we work with people in those neighborhoods to provide resources and services. Of course, we can't do everything, which is why we've had, community events and panel discussions to sort of bring people together, to build coalition, to work in partnership, to figure out how we can share resources, how we can bring more resources from other nonprofit organizations into the neighborhoods that we serve. And we'll continue to advocate and use our voice and our resources at BCS to advocate for people who too often don't have a voice to advocate for themselves.
And that's awesome. And you know what? It's voices like yours and voices that will not stop, that will create the change in the community that needs to happen. And I'm sure it's going to happen. I know it's going to take time, but with your resilience and like you said, you're not slowing down anytime soon. Change is going to come.
Yeah. Yes, most definitely.